Hey everyone, this is Taito, and in this video I will tell you all the best cards that all the strongest decks use and why they're also powerful. These cards can be played in any deck and they will always give you a lot of advantage. So that said, let's get to the video, but before that, please consider subscribing because we are so close to 100 subs and it will be amazing to get this before 2025. Starting off, we have Professor's Research, and it allows you to draw 2 cards from your deck. I think this doesn't need any explanation for why this card is broken, you are just going +1 in advantage. It is true that you can only play 1 supporter card per turn, but especially at an early game stage, this card is simply broken. It just gives you a +1 in card advantage, there is nothing much to say. It might give you your EX Pokemon, it might give you a Phase 1 or Phase 2 Pokemon, and also if at the start of the turn you have Pokeball and this card in your hand, always use the Pokeball first, because you might get like a Mewtwo, and this card might let you draw, for example, an Ivysaur. Of course, this also applies with any Phase 1, 2 or base Pokemon. You know, always use the Pokeball first because it's much easier to just run into your base Pokemon earlier. However, there is something even better, if I can say, about this, is that in the actual card game there are so many more cards. For example, there is Spighetto, which lets you draw 3 cards. So in the future, even if maybe in the next pack they might release a +3 cards, which is very nice. But I'm not sure they will release it in the next pack because they're maybe trying to take a more slow approach. We will see, but for now this card is busted. As I anticipated before, Pokeball is another broken card. The reason is also very simple, it just lets you get a random basic Pokemon from your deck. It can become a Pikachu EX or a Mewtwo, a Zapdos, an Articuno, or even just a Bulbasaur, Charmander or Ralts. This card is very powerful simply because basic Pokemons are everywhere. Like, there is no deck without one, of course, it's just how the game works. So if you're playing a Mewtwo deck where you just play Ralts and Mewtwo as the basic Pokemons, at least most of the time, it's very easy that you will run into a Mewtwo, and starting the game with a Mewtwo is very important for that deck. And also, this is an item card, which means you can play as many as you want, so you could just use 2 Pokeballs in the same turn, and this might let you get a Mewtwo and a Ralts, or a Moltres and a Pikachu. It just gives you the most important Pokemon that you could ever get on the spot, and you may also draw a Pokeball with a Professor's Research, so you may have drawn your best card in your deck, because for now, some of the strongest Pokemon such as Mewtwo or Pikachu are also basic Pokemon. The thing with these cards is that there is not much to say at first, because it's just a very powerful card with a very powerful effect and also a very simple one. But yes, Pokeball should always be played in any team. I can't imagine a deck that doesn't need it. Okay, so another card that is incredibly powerful is Sabrina. Sabrina, in my opinion, is for sure in the top 5, if not in the best 3 cards in the whole game, because her effect is incredibly powerful. So what she does is very simple, she will switch out the opponent's Pokemon into the bench, and then the opponent will choose the Pokemon to switch it out with. I think if you know just a bit about card games, especially Pokemon, you will understand why this card is so powerful. It forces the opponents to just put a character that they probably didn't upgrade. By that I mean that they will not have a lot of energy, if not none. So you might switch a Mewtwo with just a Ralts, or maybe just a Phase 1 Pokemon with no energy. And also, even if it's pretty rare, if the opponent's Pokemon has a high retreat cost, then they're basically destined to die. And also, benched Pokemon oftentimes don't have a lot of energy if you're in early game. So even if they have a 1 retreat cost, they will have to waste 1 energy to just switch back to the original. Without considering that if you have something that is mid-damaging, like a Mahawk X, or maybe a Golurk, you know, something that may not deal a lot of damage, maybe just 100 or 80, then switching back to a Ralts, it's basically just a free point. And you're also denying your opponent if they may have something like a Kirlia in hand or Gardevoir. Like, it's very damaging to your opponent if you just kill their Phase 1 or base Pokemon. And even if they get to choose, most of the time they don't even put like 2 or 3 Pokemon in the bench. Most of the time there is only 1 base Pokemon in the bench. But this is not always, so just take it with a grain of salt. The point is, this card is incredibly powerful and you should really get this. It is honestly a shame that this card is not in the same pack as Giovanni, because they are both the strongest cards in the whole game. Now, another one of the best cards in the game is Giovanni. Giovanni is another supporter and an incredibly powerful one. Even if it looks pretty underwhelming at first, it is actually one of the strongest cards in the whole game. Plus 10 damage may look like nothing, but it is actually a lot, because oftentimes you will always see some cases where your damage might be only 10 damage apart, and if that was the case, you are in for a rough time. That means the opponent has 1 more turn, they can set 1 more energy, they can even do some attack, so this is a very powerful card. Also, the plus 10 damage is applied to every Pokemon of yours, but the damage increase is only applied to the opponent's active Pokemon. I mean, it would have been broken if your Articuno would be able to deal plus 10 damage on every benched Pokemon of your opponents, so I'm glad this is not the case, but oftentimes your Pokemon will be only 10 damage apart. And also this can create a pretty nice interact with the opponent's potions, because if your opponent's Pokemon is 10 HP apart from getting a fatal hit, for example they have 60 HP against your Mewtwo, then they might waste a potion even if you don't have Giovanni, because if you did have Giovanni then you would have killed them. So it really makes up for some mind games. They might waste their potion, they might not. It is really pretty interesting. Also, don't waste Giovanni while playing, like you don't have to use it as soon as possible for no reason. Only use it when they actually are 10 HP apart. And trust me when I say this, this is very frequent. Now, X-Speed is another item, very powerful card. Its effect, just like any other card in this game, is also very simple. Your active Pokemon during this turn has the retreat cost reduced by 1 energy. There is a ton of situations where this effect is very powerful. For example, if the opponent has already 1 point and your EX Pokemon is about to die. In that case, you have to retreat it no matter what, because otherwise you're gonna die. So if you don't have enough energy, you're gonna die. So that one difference in energy is a lot when you think about it. It is actually so much. You're just sparing 1 turn worth of energy. Also, you can just retreat any Pokemon that costs 1 energy for free, so you will spare 1 energy to use for your next active Pokemon and just get 1 more energy for their attack. For example, Pikachu will need 1 energy to retreat, or Zapdos. So you're just sparing 1 energy by just using 1 item card. It is very nice, because oftentimes you do have to save your energy. There are so many different occasions where you do need to save it, and where the Pokemon you have just retreated will need their energy later. So yes, this card is another very powerful one. Now we have a red card. Red card, if it was a Yu-Gi-Oh card, it would have been banned day 1. It's crazy its effect. Your opponent will shuffle their hand into the deck and just draw 3 cards. Now, if you're new to card games, you may be, card advantage is on the top of your priority, which means that if your opponent goes from 6 cards in their hand to 3, then it's a huge advantage. Sometimes if you do get red card, you're basically dead, because you might just shuffle back all of your best cards. And also going from 5, 6 or even 4 cards into 3, it is a huge disadvantage. So whenever you see your opponent having more than 4 cards in their hand, always use it. Or sometimes even use it if they're at 4 cards. You will still make them lose 1 card, and they might just draw into some doubles, especially if they're playing a deck which needs a huge amount of Pokemon, such a Venusaur deck or a Charizard one, or even one with Gardevoir, where they will need all 3 of their Pokemon, so it might be very important. However, even though it's a very powerful card, it's weaker compared to the other ones, so if you want my tip, maybe don't put 2 cards of red card in your deck, but if you do have some space, then just putting 2 copies of this is very nice. And lastly, we have Potion. So I don't want to include Misty and Koga because they are very specific. Of course, you can just play them in any team that you want, and also I would also have to include Erika. So because this video is only about the most generic and powerful cards, I will only talk about Potion. Potion is very straightforward. It simply says heal 20 damage from one of your Pokemon. This doesn't say your active Pokemon, so if your Pokemon is in the bench and also hurt, you can just heal it up. This is very nice because it's just like a reverse Giovanni, and you'll just use it to survive from a fatal hit. If your Pokemon has 80 HP and they do an attack that does 80 damage, you can use Potion and you're fine. But of course, if it has 70 HP and you use Potion, it's possible that they will use Giovanni and kill you, which comes back to that mind game I told you about earlier. So this card is very powerful also because there are not many Pokemon that can heal themselves at all. I can only think of the new Lapras EX, Venusaur EX, and also Erika. Plus, just like any other item card, you can just stack it and heal a whopping 40 HP, which is a lot. It can really save you and also like buy some time. For example, if you're playing Meowth round 1 and you just want to farm out of cards, then you can use Potion. So personally, you should play maybe 1 copy, but 2 if you have a lot of space. But yes, this is a life-saving item many times, and it's also very versatile considering that you can just use it to any Pokemon that you want. And this is it for the video. I was thinking about making a new video about some more specific cards, such as Misty, Erika, Koga, and also some particular Pokemon, such as Weezing or Moltres, but I'll think about it. If you think that there are more generic cards that are very good, then just tell me in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!